the descent into darkness, finding shelter as night falls. The cold finds you first. It always does. You have been walking since the pale winter sun crept above the horizon, your bare feet wrapped in hides that have grown damp from trudging through snow, and now the light is fading again. The sky has turned from white to gray to something deeper, a purple bruise spreading across the heavens. And you know what this means? Night is coming, and with night comes the cold that kills. You pause for a moment, your breath rising in soft clouds before your face, and you look toward the ridge ahead. Somewhere beyond those rocks, you know there is shelter. Your people have used this cave before, many times, across many winters, and your body remembers the way even when your tired mind struggles to recall. This is knowledge passed down not through words alone, but through walking, through doing, through the simple act of survival, repeated across generations. Your grandmother walked this path. Her grandmother walked it too. And now you walk it, carrying everything they knew in your bones. The wind picks up, cutting through the furs wrapped around your shoulders, and you pull them tighter. Around you, the world is vast and empty and terrifyingly open. There are no walls here, no barriers between your fragile body and the endless hunger of winter. Every direction stretches toward a horizon you cannot reach, and the sky presses down like a weight. Out here, you are small. Out here, you are exposed. Every instinct you possess, every ancient warning written into your blood, tells you the same thing. Find shelter. Find it now. You begin to climb the ridge, your legs burning with the effort, your fingers growing numb as you grip the frozen rocks. The snow crunches beneath you, loud in the silence, and you try not to think about how far you still have to go. You try not to think about the night creatures that will soon emerge, the wolves and the great cats whose eyes shine in the darkness. You have seen what they leave behind. You have seen the bones picked clean by morning. This knowledge does not fill you with panic, but with purpose. You must keep moving. You must reach the cave, and then you see it. Just ahead, half hidden by a tumble of boulders and a stubborn growth of winter bear brush, there is a darkness in the rock face. Not a shadow, not a trick of the fading light, but an opening, a mouth in the stone, waiting for you. Your heart lifts in your chest, not with excitement, but with something older and deeper. Relief, the relief of the hunted creature who has finally found its burrow. The relief of the child who reaches home before the storm breaks. You approach slowly, carefully, because you have learned that caves can hold more than shelter. Sometimes they hold bears, curled in their winter sleep, dangerous if disturbed. Sometimes they hold the dens of other predators who will not welcome your intrusion. You pause at the entrance, listening, your senses stretched as far as they will go. You smell the air, searching for the musk of animal presence, for the sharp temps of a predator's marking. But there is only stone and earth, and the faint, lingering scent of old smoke. Your people have been here before. Your people have made this place their own. You step inside, and the world changes. The wind, which has been your constant companion all day, falls silent. It is still there, you know, howling just beyond the entrance, but the cave swallows its voice. The temperature shifts too, not warm exactly, but no longer the brutal assault of the open air. The stone around you holds its own steady presence, a coolness that is nothing like the killing cold outside. You take another step, and another, your eyes slowly adjusting to the darkness. And you feel the tension in your shoulders begin to ease. This is what your ancestors understood, what they learned through countless winters of trial and death and hard-won survival. Caves are not simply holes in the rock. They are sanctuaries. They are the closest thing to safety that this world provides. The people who came before you did not choose their shelters carelessly. They studied the land, learned which openings faced away from the prevailing winds, which chambers stayed dry when the rains came, which passages led deeper into the earth, where the temperature never changed. This knowledge was more precious than any tool, any weapon, any fire-starting skill. This knowledge meant life. You move further inside, trailing your hand along the wall, feeling the roughness of the stone beneath your fingers. The cave narrows and then opens again into a larger chamber, and here you pause, letting your eyes drink in the familiar shapes. There is the blackened circle where fires have burned before, the stones arranged around it to contain the heat and reflect it back. There is the slight depression in the ground where bedding was once laid, where bodies curled together through long winter nights. There is the low overhang near the back where supplies can be stored, protected from damp and from the curious noses of animals. You are home, or something close to it, something close enough. You sink down onto the cold stone floor, just for a moment, allowing yourself to rest. Your body aches in ways you have stopped noticing, the low constant pain of muscles pushed too far, of joints stiff from cold, of skin chapped and cracked by the winter air. But here, in this sheltered space, the aching feels less urgent. Here, you can breathe. Here, you can think about something other than survival. The entrance to the cave glows faintly with the last light of day, a gray rectangle against the deeper darkness around you. You watch it for a moment, seeing the snow begin to fall outside, thick flakes drifting down like feathers. If you were still out there, that snow would be settling on your shoulders, melting into your furs, stealing what little warmth you have left. But you are not out there. You are here, inside, protected by millions of years of geological patience, by stone that formed before your kind existed and will remain long after you are gone. There is something humbling in this thought, something strangely comforting. The cave does not care about you. It does not know your name or your fears or your hopes. It simply exists as it has always existed, offering shelter to whatever creature is wise enough to seek it. Tonight, that creature is you. Tonight, you are the one who will sleep within its walls, who will dream beneath its ceiling, who will wake to see the morning light creeping once more through its entrance. But that is later. That is tomorrow. For now, you simply sit and breathe and let the silence settle around you like a blanket. The world outside is brutal and vast and indifferent to your existence. The world inside this cave is small and contained and blessedly still. You have made it. You have found your shelter. And as the darkness deepens and the night takes hold of the land, you know that the hardest part of the day is over. Soon you will need to move again. Soon you will need to gather what fuel you can find to coax a fire into life, to prepare your bedding and eat whatever food remains from the day's foraging. There is still work to be done, still rituals of survival to perform. But for this moment, just this small moment, you allow yourself to simply be, to exist without striving, to rest without sleeping, to feel the quiet gratitude of the creature who has escaped the cold for one more night. The cave holds you gently, as it has held so many before you. And somewhere deep in your chest, in that place where instinct lives, you feel the truth that your ancestors knew. This is not a primitive existence. This is not a lesser way of living. This is survival at its most elegant, shelter at its most pure. You have found the place where you belong, at least for tonight, and that is enough. That is more than enough. Outside, the winter rages. Inside, you are safe. The architecture of warmth. Why caves were nature's perfect bedroom. You have been inside the cave for only a few minutes, but already you can feel the difference settling into your body. The shivering that rattled your bones on the walk here has begun to ease. Your fingers, which were so numb you could barely grip the rocks during your climb, are slowly regaining their feeling. The tip of your nose, which burned with cold, now merely. This is not warmth, not yet, but it is the absence of assault. The cave has stopped the attack that the winter was waging against your body, and that alone is a kind of miracle. You press your palm flat against the cave wall and hold it there. The stone is cool, yes, but not cold. Not the killing cold of the air outside, where exposed skin can freeze in minutes, where the wind cuts through fur and hide as if they were nothing at all. This stone has a steadiness to it, a patience. It does not change with the gusting of the wind or the falling of the temperature. It simply is what it is, day after day, season after season, offering the same reliable coolness in summer and the same reliable shelter in winter. This is something your people have always understood, even if they could not explain it in words. The earth holds heat differently than the air. The air is fickle and fast, heating quickly under the sun and cooling just as quickly when night falls. But the stone is slow. It absorbs warmth gradually, reluctantly, and releases it just as slowly. When the summer sun beats down on the hillside above this cave, the rock drinks in that heat and holds it for months. Now, in the depths of winter, some of that ancient summer warmth still lingers here, radiating gently from the walls like a memory of kinder days. You move deeper into the cave, away from the entrance where the cold air still reaches, and you can feel the temperature stabilize. Out in the open, the difference between day and night, between sun and shadow, between wind and stillness, can mean the difference between life and death. But here, in this deeper chamber, those extremes are muted. The cave acts as a buffer, a mediator between your fragile body and the harsh world outside. It cannot give you warmth, not on its own, but it can give you stability. It can give you a chance. The entrance to the cave is important too, though you might not think about it consciously. Your ancestors chose this shelter, not just because it existed, but because of how it was shaped. The opening is relatively narrow, wide enough for a person to pass through comfortably, but not so wide that it lets in every gust of wind. It faces away from the direction most winter storms blow, which means the worst of the weather passes by without forcing its way inside. The passage from the entrance to this inner chamber curves slightly, creating a natural baffle that blocks drafts and traps air. None of this is accidental. Your people learned these things through hard experience, through winters spent in poorly chosen shelters, through cold nights that taught lessons no one would forget. You think about what it would be like to sleep outside tonight. And the thought makes you shudder, even here in the relative protection of the cave. Out there, the snow is still falling, piling up in drifts against the rocks and in the hollows of the land. The temperature has dropped further since you arrived, and it will continue to drop until the darkest hours before dawn. A person caught in the open on a night like this would face winds that steal heat faster than the body can produce it, snow that melts against the skin and then refreezes, cold that creeps into the lungs with every breath. It is a slow death, or sometimes a fast one, and you have seen the evidence of it before. Bodies found stiff in the spring thaw, faces frozen in expressions of final exhaustion, hands still clutching at furs that could not save them. But you are not outside. You are here, in this stone sanctuary that your ancestors discovered and used and passed down to you like the greatest of all inheritances. The walls around you are your protection, your first defense against a world that does not care whether you live or die. And soon you will add to this protection with fire, with bedding, with the warmth of other bodies pressed close to yours. But even without those things, even just sitting here in the darkness, you are already safer than you would be anywhere else. The cave has other properties too, properties that you sense without fully understanding. The air here is more humid than the dry winter air outside, which means your skin does not crack as badly, your throat does not burn with every breath. The darkness, which will grow complete once night fully falls, signals to your body that it is time to rest, triggering ancient mechanisms that prepare you for sleep. And the silence, that profound and restful silence, allows your mind to slow in ways it never can when you are exposed to the constant noise of the world. You lean back against the cave wall, letting the stone support your weight, and you take a long, slow breath. The air tastes of earth and rock and the faint memory of old fires, and it is the taste of safety. Your heartbeat, which was rapid during your climb and your careful approach, has slowed to a steady rhythm. Your breathing has deepened without you noticing. Your body knows, even if your mind is still catching up, that the danger has passed for now. The danger will return. It always returns. But for this night, at least, you have found your refuge. There is a wisdom in this that goes beyond survival, beyond the simple mechanics of staying alive. Your ancestors did not just endure the winter, they adapted to it. They found ways to work with the world rather than against it, to use what the land provided rather than fighting it at every turn. The cave is part of that adaptation, perhaps the most important part. It is not a structure they built, not a technology they invented, but a gift from the earth itself, recognized and utilized by generations of people who understood that the best solutions are often the ones already there, waiting to be discovered. You think about the caves you have known, the different shelters your people have used across the seasons and the years. Some are deep and winding, with passages that lead far into the hillside, where the temperature never varies at all. Others are shallow overhangs, useful for a quick rest, but not for a winter night. Some face east and catch the morning sun, warming quickly as the day begins. Others face north and stay cool, even in summer, perfect for storing meat and keeping it from spoiling. Your people know all of these places, carry maps of them in memory and in story, and this knowledge is what allows them to survive in a land that offers no easy living, tonight. You are grateful for this particular cave, with its narrow entrance and its curving passage and its deep inner chamber. You are grateful for the stone that surrounds you, for the earth above you, for the simple fact that somewhere in the distant past, water and time carved this space out of solid rock. You did not make this shelter, but you inherited it. You are the beneficiary of geological ages, of processes that began before any creature walked the earth, of a patience so vast it makes your own brief life seem like the flicker of a flame. And perhaps that is the deepest comfort of all, not just that the cave protects you from the cold, but that it connects you to something larger than yourself, to the earth, to time, to all the generations who came before and all who will come after. Tonight, you will sleep in the same place your ancestors slept, will close your eyes in the same darkness, will listen to the same silence. And when you wake tomorrow, you will step out into the same world they faced, ready to survive another day. For now, though, you simply rest. The cave holds you. The stone supports you. The cold cannot reach you here. And as you sit in the darkness, feeling your body slowly release its tension, you understand why your people have always returned to these places. Not because they had no other choice, but because there is no better choice. The cave is nature's perfect shelter, and you are exactly where you need to be. Preparing the nest, bedding, furs, and the art of getting comfortable, you cannot sleep on bare stone. This is one of the first lessons every child learns, one of the truths that separates survival from suffering. The cave floor beneath you is hard and uneven, cold in a way that seeps into bones and joints and makes the body ache with a deep, persistent pain. To lie down on it directly would be to invite that cold inside yourself, to let it drain the warmth from your blood hour by hour through the long winter night. You might survive it if you were young and strong and lucky, but you would not truly rest. You would wake exhausted, stiff, your body having spent the night fighting a battle it could never quite win. So you prepare. This is the ritual that comes next, the work that stands between you and sleep. And it is work you have done so many times that your hands know it without thinking. You rise from your resting place against the wall and begin to move around the chamber, gathering what you need, preparing the space that will hold you through the darkness ahead. There is a rightness to this work, a satisfaction in it. You are not merely surviving. You are making a home, however temporary, however humble. First, the ground itself must be prepared. You find the spot where others have slept before, the slight depression in the cave floor that has been worn smooth by countless bodies over countless nights. The stone here is less jagged, less likely to dig into hip or shoulder, and the earth around it is compacted from use. You kneel and brush away the debris that has accumulated since the last visitors were here. The small stones and dust and bits of dried vegetation that the wind has blown in. You are particular about this, taking your time, because every irregularity left behind will make itself known in the night, will press against your body and interrupt your rest. Then comes the first layer of insulation. You have carried some materials with you, bundled against your back during the long walk here, and now you unroll them onto the prepared ground. Dried grasses gathered in autumn, when the meadows were golden and the stems snapped easily in the cool air. Soft mosses pulled from the shaded sides of boulders and dried slowly in weak autumn sunshine. Bracken fronds, their edges curled and brittle now, but still holding pockets of air that trap warmth against the body. You spread these materials out carefully, creating a cushion between yourself and the stone, building up layers until the floor begins to feel less like rock and more like earth, less like cold and more like possibility. The smell rises up as you work, a dusty, gentle fragrance of summer preserved into winter. You breathe it in, and something in your chest relaxes. This is the smell of preparation, of foresight, of all those days spent gathering when gathering was easy, so that nights like this would not be so hard. Your people do not think of the seasons as separate from one another. Every action in summer is connected to survival in winter. Every moment of plenty is an opportunity to prepare for scarcity. The grasses you spread now were collected by hands that were warm and capable under a sun that shone without cruelty, and carrying that warmth forward into this dark, cold night feels like a small victory against time itself. Now come the hides. You have several with you, bundled and rolled, heavier than anything else you carry, but worth every bit of their weight. Animal skins, carefully prepared over long, patient hours of scraping and stretching and treating until they are supple and soft. Some still have fur attached, thick winter coats from deer killed in the cold months when their pelts were at their finest. Others are smooth, the hair removed and the leather worked until it is almost cloth-like, flexible enough to wrap around the body in layers. You lay the largest hide down first, covering the bed of grass and moss, creating a barrier that will keep the smaller pieces from scattering and add another layer of protection against the cold. Then you arrange the others nearby, ready to pull over yourself when you finally lie down, ready to cocoon you in warmth that your own body will generate and these skins will hold close. The fur side will go inward against your skin, where the trapped air between the hairs will create insulation no woven fabric can match. Your people learned this long ago, learned it from watching animals, from seeing how the wolf and the bear and the rabbit survived winters that should have killed them. There is an art to this arrangement, a knowledge passed from parent to child across generations beyond counting. The hides must overlap in certain ways so that cold air cannot creep between them. The edges must be tucked under the body or weighted down so that drafts are blocked. The layer closest to the skin should be the softest. The one that touches the ground should be the toughest. Every choice matters. Every detail contributes to the difference between a night of rest and a night of shivering. And then there is the warmth that no hide can provide, the warmth of other bodies. Tonight you are not alone. Your family has found their way to this cave as well, trickling in as the darkness fell, each one repeating the same rituals of arrival and preparation. Your sister is here, arranging her own bedding nearby, close enough that your sleeping forms will touch during the night. Your mother is tending to the fire that someone has already started, coaxing it into steadier life, feeding it the wood that was stored here on some previous visit. Your young cousin is curled already in a nest of furs, exhausted from the walk, too tired to wait for the preparations to be complete. You will sleep together, as your people have always slept, bodies pressed close in a tangle of limbs and warmth. This is not simply about survival. though it is that too. It is about comfort, about connection, about the deep animal reassurance of knowing you are not alone in the darkness. A body sleeping alone loses heat from every surface, radiating precious warmth into empty air. But a body pressed against another shares that warmth, exchanges it, creates a microclimate of comfort that neither could achieve on their own. Children sleep between adults, sheltered on every side. The elderly sleep closest to the fire, where the heat is most reliable. Everyone finds their place, their role in this nightly gathering of warmth. You remember nights from your childhood, curled against your grandmother's back, feeling the slow rise and fall of her breathing, the steady beat of her heart through the furs that covered you both. You remember the smell of her, smoke and leather, and something deeper, the smell of family, of safety, of home. Those nights taught you something that words could never capture, something about belonging, about being held, about the fundamental truth that no one survives alone. Your grandmother is gone now, returned to the earth in a spring long past, but the warmth she gave you remains. You carry it in your body, in your memories, in the way you now curl against your sister and feel her warmth become yours. The furs settle around you like an embrace. The grass beneath you is soft, giving just enough to cushion your hip and shoulder. The sounds of your family preparing for sleep fill the cave, quiet and familiar, rustling and murmuring, and the occasional soft laugh. These are the sounds of safety, of survival, secured for one more night, and they ease something in your heart that you did not know was clenched. You are tired. The day has been long and hard, filled with walking and gathering and the constant low-level fear that comes from being exposed to the winter world. But now that fear is fading, replaced by something gentler, something that might be called peace, if you had a word for it. You have done the work. You have prepared your nest. You have gathered around you all the materials and all the people you need to survive. This night, soon the fire will be burning steadily, casting its light across the cave walls, and someone will share food. And there will be quiet talk as the night deepens. But for now, you simply lie still, feeling the warmth begin to build around you, feeling your body slowly release its grip on the day. The stone beneath you is no longer cold. The air around you is no longer threatening. You have transformed this corner of the cave into something more than shelter. You have made it into a bed, a nest, a home, and in that home, surrounded by warmth and family and the ancient wisdom of your people, you begin to let yourself rest. The fires embrace, tending the flames through the night. You have been in the cave for some time now, your bedding prepared, your body beginning to relax. But it is only when the flames catch and grow that the shelter truly becomes sanctuary. Light spills across the stone walls, dancing and flickering, pushing back the absolute darkness that had begun to settle. Warmth radiates outward in gentle waves, reaching your skin even from across the chamber, and something deep inside you unclenches at last. This is what your people have carried across continents and through ice ages. This is the gift that separates you from the animals who must endure the cold with only their fur and their fat to protect them. This is fire. You watch as your mother tends the flames, adding small pieces of wood with the careful precision of someone who has done this 10,000 times before. Too much fuel too quickly and the fire will flare up. consuming wood that might be needed later in the night. Too little and the flames will falter, requiring more effort to revive. There is a balance to be found, a rhythm of feeding and waiting, and your mother knows it in her bones. She moves without hurry, her face calm in the firelight, her hands steady and sure. You have watched her do this all your life, and her mother before her, and now you carry that knowledge too, ready for the nights when you will be the one tending the flames. The wood itself was gathered on previous visits, stored in the dry back reaches of the cave where moisture could not reach it. Some of it is ancient, branches broken and hauled here seasons ago, dried slowly until they became almost weightless, perfect for burning. Other pieces are newer, collected by whoever passed through last, left as a gift for the next travelers. This is how your people work, thinking not just of their own survival, but of those who will come after. The wood you burn tonight was gathered by someone you may never meet, and the wood you will gather tomorrow will warm hands you will never touch. It is a chain of kindness stretching across time, a quiet act of care that makes survival possible. The fire burns at the center of the chamber, contained within a ring of stones that have been blackened by countless blazes before this one. These stones serve a purpose beyond containment. They absorb the heat of the flames and radiate it back, extending the fire's warmth long after the flames themselves die down. In the morning, when the fire has been reduced to embers and ash, these stones will still hold some warmth, will ease the transition from sleep to waking, from the cocoon of furs to the cold work of another day. Your ancestors learned this too, learned that stone is not just for shelter, but for storage, that heat can be held and hoarded and released slowly, like a promise kept across the hours. You arrange yourself so that the fire is visible from where you lie. This is instinct as much as strategy, the deep animal need to keep the light within sight. The flames dance in patterns that your brain reads without understanding. Shapes that rise and fall and twist in ways that seem almost meaningful. You have spent countless nights watching fires like this, seeing faces in the flames, stories in the sparks, dreams in the slow pulse of the embers. It is hypnotic in the truest sense, a focus for the mind that allows thought to soften and scatter, that invites sleep without demanding it. The light is protection, too. Out in the darkness, beyond the cave, predators are moving. Hunters whose eyes are made for night, whose ears catch the slightest sound, whose noses read the air for the scent of prey. They know you are here. They can smell the smoke, see the glow at the cave's entrance, hear the sounds of your family settling into sleep. But they will not come. The fire is a barrier they will not cross, a warning they have learned to respect across generations of their own. They do not understand it, perhaps, cannot grasp the chemistry of combustion or the physics of heat. They only know that fire means danger, that creatures who carry flame are not easy prey, and so they pass by in the darkness, seeking other victims, leaving you safe in your circle of light. There is comfort in this that goes beyond the physical. To sit in firelight is to know that you have something the darkness does not. To sleep within reach of flames is to carry a shield into the vulnerable hours, a weapon that asks nothing of your exhausted body but continued existence. Your ancestors discovered this power long ago in some moment lost to time, And they must have felt what you feel now: wonder, gratitude, the fierce, quiet joy of mastery over the cold and the dark. Someone will wake in the night to tend the fire. This is understood without discussion, assigned without argument. Perhaps it will be you, pulled from sleep by some internal clock, rising in the darkness to add wood and stir the coals. Perhaps it will be your mother, whose sleep has always been light, who seems to sense when the flames are faltering before they actually begin to fade. Perhaps it will be your sister's turn, taking her place in the rotation of responsibility that keeps the fire alive until morning. It does not matter who wakes. What matters is that someone always does, that the fire is never allowed to die completely, that the chain of warmth is not broken. You have heard stories of what happens when the fire fails. Stories passed down as warnings, as lessons, as reminders of the price of carelessness. Families who slept too deeply, who woke to find only ashes where flames should be, who faced the full weight of the winter cold in the darkest hours of the night. Sometimes they survived, huddling together beneath every hide they had, waiting in misery for the dawn that brought its own bitter cold. Sometimes they did not. The stories do not dwell on these endings, do not describe the slow creep of death through sleeping bodies. They do not need to. The lesson is clear enough without elaboration. And so you watch the fire with a kind of reverence, with an appreciation that borders on love. It asks so little, really: just wood, just attention, just the occasional stirring of coals. In return, it gives you everything: warmth, light, safety, the ability to sleep without fear, to rest without shivering, to dream without waking to the touch of frost on your skin. If you could give the fire a gift in return, you would. If you could thank it in words, it would understand. You would speak them now into the flickering glow, hoping they would be heard. The flames are lower now, banked for the night, a steady pulse of orange and red that will burn slowly through the hours ahead. Your mother has done her work well, building a fire that will sustain itself without constant attention, that will be easily revived when the tender wakes. The smoke rises toward the cave ceiling and finds its way out through cracks and crevices too small for you to see, carrying with it the scent of burning wood, the signature of human presence that will linger in this place. Long after you have gone, you close your eyes and the firelight remains, a warm glow against your eyelids, a presence you can feel even without seeing. The heat reaches you in gentle waves, touching your face, your hands, the parts of you that have slipped out from beneath the furs. It is not enough to make you warm, not by itself, but combined with the insulation of your bedding and the warmth of the bodies beside you, it tips the balance. It takes an environment that would kill you and makes it one where you can thrive, or at least survive, or at least rest. This is the magic of fire, if magic is even the right word. It does not change the world around you, does not turn winter into summer or cold into warmth. It simply creates a small bubble of possibility, a space where human life can continue despite everything that should make it impossible. Your ancestors carried this possibility with them as they spread across the earth into lands that should have been uninhabitable, through climates that should have stopped them cold. They carried fire, and fire carried them, and now you lie in the warmth of that ancient partnership, part of a tradition older than memory, The fire crackles softly, speaking in a language you do not know but somehow understand. It tells you that you are safe. It tells you that you are watched over. It tells you that the night will pass and the morning will come and you will wake. And as you listen to its quiet voice, as you feel its warmth against your skin, you let yourself drift toward sleep, trusting in the flames as your ancestors trusted, as your descendants will trust, as every human has trusted since the first fire was kindled in the first dark night. The soundscape of sleep, what cavemen heard as they drifted off. Close your eyes and listen. In the world you know, the world of endless noise and constant stimulation, true silence might seem impossible. But here, in this cave, in this moment, you are about to discover something your ancestors knew intimately. Sound in the prehistoric night was not absence but presence, not emptiness but a rich tapestry of gentle rhythms that cradled the mind toward sleep. Let yourself hear what they heard. Let yourself sink into the soundscape that lulled humanity to rest for thousands upon thousands of years. The first sound you notice is the wind, but it is not the harsh assault you experienced outside, the cutting gusts that stole your breath and threatened your life. From within the cave, the wind becomes something else entirely. It is muffled now, transformed by stone and distance into a low, steady hum, a song without words that rises and falls in patterns too slow to predict. Sometimes it moans softly across the cave entrance, finding the narrow opening and whispering through it like a voice from another world. Sometimes it falls silent for long stretches, only to return in gentle swells that seem to breathe with the night itself. This is the sound of the world continuing without you. While you lie safe in your shelter, the storm rages on, the snow falls, the cold deepens. But you are apart from it now, protected, wrapped in stone and warmth, and the simple fact of having found your way to safety. The wind cannot reach you here. It can only sing to you from beyond the threshold, a lullaby of survival, a reminder of what you have escaped. Closer now. Inside the cave itself, the fire adds its voice. The soft crackle of burning wood, so familiar you barely register it consciously, forms a constant backdrop to the night. It is not a loud sound, nothing that would startle or disturb, just a gentle percussion of small pops and hisses as the flames consume their fuel. Every few minutes there comes a softer sound, a settling as a log shifts in the fire and sends up a brief fountain of sparks. These sounds are comforting in the deepest way, carrying with them the promise of continued warmth, the assurance that the fire still burns, that the night is still held at bay. Your ears have always known that fire sounds mean safety. From your earliest memories, the crackle of flames has been associated with family gathered close, with food being prepared, with stories being told, with the simple peace of evening after the day's work is done. Now, as an adult, those associations remain, written into your nervous system in a language older than thought. When you hear the fire speaking its quiet language, something in you relaxes. Something in you says, all is well. Something in you allows the vigilance of the day to finally ease. And then there are the sounds of your family, the soft, steady breathing of those who have already fallen asleep, rhythmic and slow, unconscious and peaceful. Your mother's breath has a particular quality, a slight whistle on the exhale that you have known since infancy. Your sister breathes more deeply, each inhale expanding her chest against your back, where you lie curled together. Your young cousin sometimes murmurs in sleep, sounds without meaning. Dream speak that rises briefly and then fades back into silence. These sounds create a texture of companionship that no words could match. They tell you that you are not alone, that others share this night with you, that the vulnerability of sleep is a shared vulnerability, distributed across the group and therefore lighter for each individual. You do not have to maintain vigilance because others are here. You do not have to fear the unknown sounds of the night because every sound around you is familiar, is family, is home. From deeper in the cave, water drips. This cave has a spring somewhere in its recesses, a slow seep of groundwater that emerges from the rock and trickles downward toward some unseen pool. The drops fall in an irregular rhythm, each one a tiny percussion against stones, and together they create a kind of natural music that never quite repeats. Drip, pause, drip, drip, longer pause, drip. The pattern shifts and changes, never predictable, yet somehow never jarring. It is the sound of the earth being patient, of water doing its ancient work of carving and shaping, of time passing in increments too small to perceive. You find yourself listening to the water without meaning to, letting your attention drift with each drop, feeling your thoughts begin to scatter and soften. This is how sleep comes in the prehistoric night, not forced but invited, not commanded but allowed. The sounds around you do not demand attention. They do not stimulate or excite or alarm. They simply exist, natural and inevitable, asking nothing of you but presence. Outside, beyond the cave, beyond the wind, the world is full of sounds, too. You can hear them faintly, filtered through stone and distance. The howl of wolves somewhere in the hills, a sound that might once have made your heart race, but now seems merely part of the night. Another voice in the chorus, another reminder of the wild world that exists alongside your own. The wolves are not hunting you. They are simply living as you are living, following their own imperatives through the dark hours. Their howls rise and fall, overlapping, weaving together into harmonies that speak of pack and territory and the old rituals of their kind. An owl calls from somewhere closer, its voice cutting clearly through the other sounds, a single note repeated at long intervals. This too is familiar, a sound you have heard on countless nights, in countless places, a sound that means nothing more threatening than the passage of time. The owl is hunting, seeking the small creatures that move beneath the snow, focused on its own survival as you are focused on yours. Its call is almost companionable, a fellow creature awake in the darkness, sharing the night without sharing your cave. What you do not hear is perhaps as important as what you do. There are no mechanical sounds here, no hum of electricity, no distant traffic, no airplanes passing overhead. There are no human voices from strangers, no music from unseen sources, no alerts or alarms or notifications demanding your attention. The sounds of this night are ancient sounds, the same sounds that every human who ever slept in a cave has heard, unchanged across millennia. They are the sounds your brain evolved to process, the sounds your nervous system recognizes as normal, as safe, as conducive to rest. Modern silence is never truly silent. It is filled with frequencies and vibrations that you have learned to ignore, but that your body still registers, still responds to with subtle stress, subtle alertness, subtle inability to fully relax. But here in the cave, with only the wind and the fire and the breathing and the water, you are experiencing something your ancestors knew as ordinary, but that you might experience as revelation. True quiet, natural sound, the acoustic environment for which human sleep was designed. You feel your breathing slow to match the rhythms around you. Your heartbeat eases, finding a pace that synchronizes with the drip of water, with the crackle of fire, with the soft, regular breathing of your family beside you. Your thoughts, which were still active when you first lay down, begin to lose their edges, to blur and blend into something less structured, less demanding. This is the threshold of sleep, the borderland between waking and dreaming, and the sounds around you are guiding you across it with gentle insistence. Let yourself be guided. Let the wind sing you toward rest. Let the fire whisper its assurances. Let the breathing of your family become a rhythm you can follow, a pattern you can match, a tide you can surrender to. The night is long, and the sounds will continue without you, cradling you while you are gone, holding the space for your consciousness until morning recalls it. There is nothing to fear in this soundscape, nothing to resist, nothing to analyze or understand. There is only listening, only breathing, only the slow, sweet slide into dreams. The wolves howl again, fainter now, moving away across the hills. The owl falls silent, perhaps having found its prey. The wind softens, the fire settles, and even the water seems to drip more slowly, more quietly, as if the whole world is joining you in your descent toward sleep. And as you let go, as you allow the sounds to become background, as you feel yourself beginning to drift, you understand something that needs no words to express. This is how humans were meant to sleep, in caves, in company, in the gentle embrace of natural sound. And for tonight, at least, you are sleeping exactly as your ancestors slept, held by the same sounds, soothed by the same rhythms, at peace in the same ancient way. Sleeping together, community, safety, and the warmth of bodies. You are not alone in this darkness. This simple fact, so easy to overlook, is perhaps the most important truth of this night. Around you, pressed close enough to touch, your family breathes and dreams and shares the shelter that protects you all. The warmth that keeps you alive is not just the warmth of the fire or the furs or the cave itself. It is the warmth of bodies, of blood and breath, and the simple physical presence of other human beings. This is how your ancestors slept for hundreds of thousands of years. This is how you were meant to sleep. Your sister lies behind you, her back against yours, and you can feel every breath she takes as a gentle rise and fall against your spine. The contact is constant, unconscious, a connection that requires no thought and offers comfort without effort. When she shifts in her sleep, you shift to an automatic adjustment that keeps you pressed together, that maintains the boundary of warmth you have created between you. This is not intimacy in the way that word is sometimes used. It is something older and simpler. The basic primate need for contact, for touch, for the reassurance that comes from knowing another body is near, on your other side. Your young cousin has curled into a ball, his small form tucked against your chest, your arm draped over him without your conscious choice. He is the youngest here, the most vulnerable, and the group has arranged itself to protect him almost without thinking. He sleeps in the warmest spot, surrounded on all sides by larger bodies that block the cold air and share their heat freely. If danger came in the night, he would be the last to face it, shielded by a wall of family that would give everything to keep him safe. This is the logic of communal sleep, the ancient mathematics of survival. A single body, sleeping alone, radiates heat from every surface into the cold air around it. The warmth flows outward and is lost, must be constantly replaced by burning calories, by shivering, by the exhausting work of maintaining temperature against an environment that seeks to drain it. But bodies sleeping together share their edges, reduce their exposed surface, create a microclimate that is easier to maintain. The heat that flows from your back into your sister's back is not lost. It is exchanged, recycled, kept within the boundary of your shared sleeping space. Together you are warmer than either of you could be alone. Your mother sleeps nearest the fire, as is her right and her need. Age has made her bones ache in the cold, has made her circulation slower, has made her more vulnerable to the chill that you shrug off without noticing. She has earned her place by the flames, has paid for it with years of tending fires for others, of sleeping in colder spots so that children could have the warmth. Now the roles have shifted, as they always do, as they are meant to. The young give warmth to the old, the strong protect the weak, and everyone contributes what they can to the survival of all. There is safety here that goes beyond temperature. In the open, in the wild, a sleeping human is vulnerable beyond measure, unconscious, immobile, unaware of the predators that might approach. You would be easy prey for any hunter with the patience to wait. But here, surrounded by your family, that vulnerability is shared and therefore diminished. If danger approached, someone would wake. Someone would sound the alarm. The group would rise together, a mass of noise and motion and potential threat that would give any predator pause. The wolves know this. The great cats know it. They seek lone prey, separated prey, prey that has wandered away from the protection of the herd. They do not seek caves full of alert and dangerous humans. You think about how it would feel to sleep alone, truly alone, without another human within reach. The thought is almost unbearable, not because of the cold, though that would be worse without shared warmth. Not because of the danger, though that would be greater without shared vigilance. But because of the loneliness, the isolation, the profound wrongness of facing the night without anyone beside you. Your body knows, at a level deeper than thought, that humans are not meant to be alone. Not in the day, and especially not in the night. The presence of your family is not just practical. It is essential to your peace, to your rest, to your ability to release the day and surrender to sleep. The cave is quiet now, the fire burning low, the wind a distant murmur beyond the stone. In the darkness, you can feel, rather than see, the shapes around you. The rise and fall of breathing, the occasional twitch of a dreaming limb. Your grandmother used to say that families who slept together stayed together, that the bonds formed in the vulnerable hours of night were stronger than any made in the busy daylight. You did not understand her then. You were young, eager to have your own space, impatient with the crowding and the contact. But now, older and wiser, and far from home, you understand perfectly. This closeness is the foundation of everything. The trust you share with your sister was built in nights like this. Learning her breathing, feeling her warmth, knowing her presence without needing to see or speak. The protection you offer your young cousin now is the same protection that was offered to you, passed down through generations, like an inheritance more precious than any tool or weapon. The respect you show your mother, giving her the warmest spot, tending the fire so she can sleep undisturbed, is the respect she showed her own mother and her mother before that. An unbroken chain of care that stretches back to the very first humans who discovered that they could survive more easily together. You wonder sometimes about people who sleep alone. You have heard of such things, of travelers who wandered too far and had to face the night without companions, of outcasts who were driven from their families and had to make their own way. The thought fills you with pity and a kind of horror. To be alone in the darkness, to feel the cold pressing in from every side, to know that no one would notice if you stopped breathing, no one would come if danger approached. It seems to you a fate worse than many kinds of death, a loneliness so complete it would hollow out the soul. But that is not your fate tonight. Tonight, you are surrounded by love made manifest in warmth, by bonds made tangible in the pressure of body against body. Tonight, you are exactly where you belong, in the center of your people, part of a pattern that has been repeated every night for as long as humans have existed. This is the way. This is the right way. And as you feel your eyes growing heavy, as you feel consciousness beginning to blur at the edges, you are grateful for every body pressed against you, every breath you can hear, every heartbeat you can feel pulsing through the shared warmth of your bedding. Your sister murmurs something in her sleep, and you instinctively tighten your position, offering more of your back to her, sharing more of your heat. Your cousin sighs and burrows deeper into the curve of your arm, seeking warmth he does not consciously know he needs. Your mother's breathing shifts slightly, and you can tell she is surfacing briefly from sleep, checking that all is well, confirming that the fire still burns, that the family still sleeps safely, before allowing herself to drift down again. This is the rhythm of the communal night. This is the dance of bodies and breath that your ancestors have danced since before memory. You do not need to understand it to participate. You only need to be here, to be present, to add your warmth and your vigilance to the collective pool that keeps everyone alive. Tomorrow, you will wake in a tangle of limbs and furs, will need to extract yourself carefully so as not to disturb the others, will feel the cold air hit your skin like a small betrayal after the warmth of the night. But that is tomorrow, that is later. For now, there is only this, the weight of your family around you, the sound of their breathing, the steady shared warmth that is the difference between surviving the night and thriving through it. You are not alone. You have never been alone. And as sleep takes you at last, that is the thought you carry with you into dreams. Following the sun, circadian rhythms before artificial light too did not decide to sleep. You did not look at a clock and determine that it was time for bed. You did not force your body into rest through sheer will or careful scheduling. Instead, something older and wiser made the decision for you. As the light faded from the sky, as the world outside grew dark and cold, your body simply knew this was the time. This was the moment. Sleep was not an obligation to be met, but an inevitability to be welcomed. This is what your ancestors knew about rest, what they carried in their bodies without ever needing to understand it consciously. The sun was their clock, the only clock that mattered, and when it set, they followed. There was no struggle against tiredness, no caffeine to artificially extend the day, no bright lights to trick the brain into thinking the sun was still high. There was only darkness, and with darkness came sleep, as natural and unforced as breathing, as blinking, as the beating of the heart. Think about how different this is from the sleep you know in other contexts. In the modern world, sleep is something to be negotiated with, to be scheduled around more important things, to be sacrificed in service of work or pleasure or endless distraction. People speak of going to bed as though it were a chore, of waking as though it were a battle, of tiredness as though it were a weakness to be overcome. The night is not welcomed but fought against, filled with artificial light that turns darkness into merely another kind of day. But here, in this cave, with the fire burning low and the stars invisible beyond the stone ceiling, you were living as humans lived for the vast majority of their existence on Earth. The day was for activity, for hunting and gathering, for the work of survival. The night was for rest, for recovery, for the restoration of body and mind. These periods were not chosen but given, determined by forces far beyond any human control. And in that determination there was a kind of freedom. You did not have to decide when to sleep. The world decided for you. Your eyes grew heavy as the light faded, even before you entered the cave. This was your body responding to signals as old as life itself, reading the colors of the sky, the angle of the light, the gradual darkening of the world around you. Deep in your brain, in structures so ancient they are shared with creatures who have not walked on two legs for millions of years, the command was being issued: prepare for sleep, slow the heart, deepen the breath, release the chemicals that bring drowsiness, that soften the edges of thought, that make the hard ground seem comfortable and the cold air seem warm enough. By the time you reached the cave, by the time you prepared your bedding and settled among your family, sleep was already reaching for you. You did not resist because there was nothing to resist. You did not struggle because there was nothing to struggle against. The transition from waking to sleeping was as smooth as the transition from day to night, as inevitable as the setting of the sun. And the sleep that followed was different from the fragmented, restless sleep that modern humans often experience. Without alarm clocks to shatter dreams, without notifications to jar consciousness, without the anxiety of scheduled obligations waiting in the morning, your body could rest as deeply as it needed. The night stretched long in winter, 12 hours or more of darkness, and your body used every hour it required. Sometimes you slept through without waking, plunging deep into restorative rest and remaining there until the light returned. Sometimes you woke in the middle of the night, rising briefly to consciousness before sinking back down again. This second pattern was not a problem to be solved. It was natural, normal, expected. Modern researchers have discovered what your ancestors always knew before artificial light. Humans often slept in two distinct periods, with a wakeful hour or two in between. They would rise in the darkness, tend the fire, perhaps, speak quietly with whoever else was awake, think thoughts that seemed different from daytime thoughts, softer, and more meandering. Then they would sleep again, easily and without anxiety, knowing that the second sleep would come as surely as the first had. You have experienced this many times, this quiet waking in the middle of the night. Sometimes you simply lie still, feeling the warmth around you, listening to the sounds of sleeping family, letting your mind wander where it will. Sometimes you rise briefly, add wood to the fire, check that all is well, then return to your place among the furs. There is no stress in these wakeful periods, no frustration at being unable to sleep, because you know they are temporary. No, they are normal. No, they are part of the rhythm that your body has followed for as long as your kind has existed. And when morning comes, when the first pale light begins to seep into the cave entrance, you will wake again. Not because an alarm has sounded, not because you must rush to meet some obligation, but because your body has had its fill of rest and is ready to return to the world. This waking will be gradual, a slow surfacing from dreams, a gentle re-entry into consciousness that leaves you feeling refreshed rather than jarred. You will lie still for a time, watching the light grow, feeling the cave begin to warm slightly as the day asserts itself. And then, when you are ready, you will rise. This is the circadian rhythm as it was meant to be lived, not fought against or ignored, but followed like a path through the wilderness. The sun rises and you wake. The sun sets and you sleep. The seasons change, the length of day and night, and you change with them, sleeping longer in winter, shorter in summer. Your body adapting to the endless dance of light and dark that is the heartbeat of the earth. There is a wisdom in this that modern life has forgotten. The body knows what it needs. The brain knows when to rest. The ancient systems that have governed human sleep for hundreds of thousands of years are still there, still working, still trying to guide you toward the rest you require. They are waiting to be listened to, waiting to be trusted, waiting to show you what sleep can be when it is not forced into unnatural patterns. Here in the cave, you trust them. You let them guide you. You do not fight against the darkness or try to extend the day beyond its natural boundaries. You simply follow where the rhythms lead, and in following you find a quality of rest that is deeper and more restorative than any you might achieve through force of will. The fire has burned down to embers now, a soft red glow that barely illuminates the nearest stones. The cave is dark, truly dark, in a way that artificial environments rarely achieve. This darkness is not frightening. It is not empty. It is full of rest, full of restoration, full of the quiet work that your body and brain perform while consciousness sleeps. In this darkness, memories are consolidated. Muscles are repaired, the immune system strengthens, the spirit recovers from the demands of the day. You let your eyes close, though they were already half shut, and you feel the final slide toward sleep beginning. There is nothing to resist now. There is nothing to decide. The sun has set, the darkness has come, and you are following where every human before you has followed, into the rest that the night provides. Tomorrow the sun will rise and you will wake, but that is tomorrow. That is another cycle, another day, another chance to live. For now, there is only this night, this darkness, this perfect alignment of body and world and rhythm, and it is enough. The deep rest, why cave sleep may have been the best sleep. Consider everything that surrounds you now. The stable temperature, neither too hot nor too cold, held steady by the ancient stone that has never known the fluctuations of modern heating systems. The complete darkness of the inner chamber, darker than any bedroom you might construct, darker than any night in any city, pure and absolute and exactly what your brain needs to trigger the deepest stages of rest. The natural soundscape, rhythmic and soothing, free from the jarring interruptions of modern life. The physical closeness of family, the shared warmth, the safety of numbers. The alignment with circadian rhythms, sleep coming naturally as the sun sets, waking gently as it rises. Consider how all of these elements work together, not fighting against sleep but inviting it, not fragmenting rest but deepening it. This is what makes cave sleep perhaps the best sleep humanity has ever known. Not because caves were comfortable in the modern sense, not because life was easy or danger was absent, but because the conditions for sleep were, in many ways, perfect. Your brain evolved in environments like this. For hundreds of thousands of years, this was normal. This was what sleep meant. The neurological systems that govern your rest, the hormones that regulate your cycles, the stages of sleep that restore your body and consolidate your memories. All of these developed in caves and shelters, not so different from this one. They were optimized for exactly these conditions: darkness, quiet, warmth, companionship, alignment with the sun. Modern sleep, by contrast, is a constant battle against the very systems that are trying to help you rest. Artificial light tells your brain it is still day, suppressing the hormones that make you sleepy, fragmenting the natural slide toward rest. Noise intrudes at random intervals, jarring you from deep sleep, preventing the full cycles of restoration your body needs. Temperature fluctuates with heating systems that turn on and off, never quite settling into the steady ambient warmth your body craves. You sleep alone, or with only one other person, denied the communal warmth and safety that signals to your ancient brain that all is well. And perhaps most importantly, you fight against your own rhythms. You stay awake past the point of natural tiredness, forcing your brain to produce alertness it does not want to produce. You wake to alarms rather than light, shattering the gentle transition that leaves the body feeling restored. You try to compress sleep into efficient blocks, ignoring your body's need for longer rest in winter. 4 different patterns at different times of life. For the flexibility that natural sleep always allowed. Here in the cave, none of these battles need to be fought. Sleep is not something you achieve through effort. It is something that happens to you naturally and inevitably, because all the conditions are right. Your body knows exactly what to do. It has been doing this for longer than memory, longer than language, longer than anything that makes humans different from the other animals who share this earth. The first stage of sleep takes you quickly here, that gentle slide from wakefulness into light rest, and you pass through it without noticing. The second stage follows, your brain beginning to slow its activity, your heart rate dropping, your body temperature falling slightly as your metabolism shifts into conservation mode. This is the threshold to deep sleep, the gateway through which you must pass to reach the truly restorative stages that lie beyond. And you pass through easily, because nothing is waking you, nothing is disturbing you, nothing is pulling you back toward consciousness. The darkness is complete. The sounds are natural. The temperature is stable. Your family breathes around you, a chorus of safety. There is no reason to wake, no threat to monitor, no obligation to meet. You can let go completely, trusting the night to hold you, trusting the cave to protect you, trusting your body to do what it knows how to do. Deep sleep arrives like sinking into warm water. The brain waves slow dramatically, moving into patterns that can only occur when consciousness is truly absent. The body repairs itself at the cellular level, muscles rebuilding from the day's exertion, immune systems strengthening against the threats of the prehistoric world. Growth hormone floods the bloodstream, performing the maintenance that can only happen in this deepest rest. If you could see yourself from outside, you would notice that even your face has changed, relaxed completely, all tension gone. Breathing slow and steady and profound, you will remain in this deep sleep for longer than modern humans typically manage. Without interruption, without fragmentation, without the constant small awakenings that fragment modern rest, your body takes full advantage of the opportunity. An hour passes, another hour. The fire burns lower, and someone rises to tend it. But you do not wake, do not even register the movement, because your brain knows the difference between threat and routine and refuses to surface for anything less than genuine alarm. And then, eventually, you begin to rise toward lighter sleep again. This is the natural cycle, the architecture of rest that repeats several times each night. Waves of depth and shallowing that serve different purposes at different stages. In lighter sleep, your brain processes the experiences of the day, weaving them into memory, discarding what is not needed, strengthening what is. Dreams may come, strange narratives that blend the real and the impossible. Your brain telling stories to itself in the language of image and emotion. You will not remember most of these dreams. They will fade as you surface, leaving only traces, impressions, the vague sense that something was happening while you were away. But they served their purpose nonetheless. They helped your brain make sense of your life, helped you process the fears and hopes and confusions that accumulate during waking hours. Even without remembering, you will benefit from what they did. The cycle repeats. Deep sleep, lighter sleep, dreams, rising almost to consciousness, then sinking back down again. Each cycle takes roughly as long as a modern hour, though you have no way to measure this, no reason to count. The night is long in winter, and your body uses all of it, taking what it needs without hurry or anxiety by morning. When the light finally begins to filter into the cave, when your body begins its natural process of waking, you will have completed more of these cycles than any modern sleeper typically achieves. You will have spent more time in deep sleep, more time in REM, more time in every stage that contributes to restoration and health. You will rise not exhausted and groggy, but clear-headed and calm, ready for another day, ready to face whatever the world brings. This is what sleep can be when all the conditions are right. This is what sleep was for most of human history. Not a struggle, but a surrender. Not a problem to be solved, but a gift to be received. Not fragmented and insufficient, but whole and complete. You do not think about this as you sleep. You are not aware of the processes happening in your brain, the repairs being made in your body, the consolidation of memory and restoration of spirit. You are simply gone, absent, resting in the most profound sense of that word. And that absence, that letting go, that complete surrender to the night, is perhaps the most healing thing of all. When you wake, you will not remember most of this night. You will remember falling asleep, perhaps. You will remember the warmth, the sounds, the comfort of family beside you. But the hours of deep rest will be invisible to you. Time passed without your awareness, a gap in consciousness that you will never be able to recall, and yet you will feel it. In your body, in your mind, in the strange, quiet energy that comes from truly sufficient sleep. You will know, without knowing how you know, that something happened in the night. Something good. Something your body desperately needed and finally, fully received. This is the gift of cave sleep. This is what your ancestors knew. And for tonight, at least, it is what you know too. Closing reflection. What the caves still whisper to us the night is nearly over now. Somewhere beyond the stone walls that have held you safe, the first hints of dawn are beginning to touch the sky. The absolute darkness of the cave has shifted, almost imperceptibly toward gray, and the sounds around you are changing too. Birds are beginning to call in the cold morning air. The wind has died down to almost nothing. The fire has burned to ashes, though the stones around it still hold some warmth, and someone is stirring, beginning the first movements of the new day. But you do not need to move yet. You can lie here a little longer, suspended between sleep and waking, letting your thoughts drift in that gentle, unfocused way that only comes in these threshold moments. And as you lie here, feeling the warmth of family beside you, feeling the calm that comes from truly restful sleep, you might let yourself think about what this night has meant. Not just for your survival, though it has meant that too, but for something deeper. Something about who you are and where you come from and what you carry with you into every night. Even now, you, the person listening to this story in your own bed, in your own home, in whatever century and whatever world you inhabit, you carry the same body that slept in caves, the same brain, the same ancient systems that evolved to rest in darkness and wake with the sun. You are not so different from the person whose night we have followed together. You are their descendant, their inheritor, the latest expression of a pattern that stretches back to the very beginning of humanity. And some part of you still knows what they knew. Some part of you still responds to darkness with sleepiness, to warmth with relaxation, to the sounds of peaceful breathing with a sense of safety and calm. These responses were written into you long before you were born, carried forward through generations beyond counting, a gift from ancestors who survived long enough to pass them on. When you feel drowsy as the night deepens, that is their wisdom speaking through you. When you sleep better with someone beside you, that is their knowledge in your blood. The world has changed beyond recognition since the time of caves. You live in structures that would seem magical to your ancestors, surrounded by technologies they could not imagine, living a life of comfort and security that they would find almost beyond belief. You do not need to fear the wolves in the darkness. You do not need to tend a fire to survive the night. You do not need to gather your family close to share the warmth of bodies against the cold. And yet something has been lost in all that gaining. The pure darkness that your brain craves for deep rest is hard to find now, interrupted by screens and streetlights and the endless glow of a world that never quite sleeps. The silence that soothes the nervous system is rare, replaced by the hum of machinery and the distant rumble of traffic and 1,000 small intrusions that never quite stop. The communal warmth of family sleeping clothes has been replaced by private bedrooms and individual schedules and a kind of isolation that your ancestors would have found unbearable. You feel this loss sometimes, even if you cannot name it, in the tiredness that never quite goes away, in the difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, in the vague sense that something about modern rest is not quite right, not quite enough, not quite what your body was designed for. This is not weakness on your part. This is your body remembering what it once had, what it was built for, what it still needs on some level that no technology can quite address. But here is the whisper from the caves. The message that comes to you across all those years and all those generations. The knowledge is still in you. The capacity for deep, restorative, peaceful sleep is still there, written in your genes, waiting to be accessed. You cannot return to the caves. You would not want to, not really. Not with the dangers and the hardships and the shortened lifespans that came with that life. But you can remember, you can honor, you can carry something of that ancient wisdom into your modern nights. Perhaps it is as simple as making your room a little darker. Perhaps it is turning off the screens a little earlier, letting your brain receive the signal that the day is ending. Perhaps it is seeking quiet or warmth or the presence of someone you love. Perhaps it is trusting your body to know when it is tired, to know when it needs rest, rather than fighting against those signals in service of one more task, one more distraction, one more hour stolen from the night. Your ancestors would not recognize your world, but they would recognize you. They would see in you the same creature they were, with the same needs, the same rhythms, the same deep capacity for rest when the conditions are right. They would not judge you for struggling with sleep in a world designed against it. They would only wish for you what they wished for themselves: safety, warmth, darkness, peace, the simple gift of a night that allows the body to do what it knows how to do. And so, as this story comes to its end, as the cave dweller whose night we have followed begins to stir and face the new day, let yourself receive that wish. Let yourself feel held by all those ancestors who slept before you, who survived so that you could exist, who passed down to you the capacity for rest that you carry, whether you know it or not. They are with you, still, in every cell of your body, in every pattern of your brain, in every instinct that guides you toward sleep when the night is dark and the world is quiet. The cave is always there, in some sense, not a physical place, but a possibility, a way of resting that your body still remembers, even if your mind has forgotten. When you lie down tonight, in whatever bed you have, in whatever room you call home, you can carry something of this night with you. The warmth, the darkness, the gentle sounds, the deep, deep rest that comes from letting go completely. You are the heir to all of human history. You carry the wisdom of 10,000 generations, and that wisdom tells you, in every fiber of your being, that sleep is not something to be fought for, or struggled with, or achieved through force of will. It is something to be received, something to be surrendered to, something that will come, as it has always come, when you are ready to let it. So let it come. Let your eyes close. Let your breath slow. Let the thoughts of the day drift away like smoke rising from a dying fire. The night is here to hold you. The darkness is here to heal you. And somewhere, in some corner of existence that you cannot see but can perhaps feel, the caves still wait, still whisper, still offer their ancient gift of perfect rest. You have done enough. You have survived another day. Now it is time to sleep, as your ancestors slept, as their ancestors slept before them. As all humans have slept since the first night fell on the first cave, and the first family curled together for warmth. Rest well. Rest deeply. Rest as you were meant to rest. And may your sleep tonight be everything that sleep can be.